That's not what the college wanted to do. Brian Coker, who is our 12th president, really lobbied to allow parents to come and to watch their children play before faculty and staff. But that's not what the majority of the conference had decided to do, and we have to, follow that, or we just don't play. But we are very hopeful that in the fall we can go back to in-person games. I know I've really missed it. Football games and basketball games and baseball games really attract people from our community to the campus. And it's always nice to go to campus on a Saturday and you hear the cheering and see all the orange and garnet. And that has been something else that has just been quite different for this year. There wasn't a choir tour in the spring, as you know. So those students, they hadn't anticipated going to Scotland last summer, this past summer, but that has been put on hold. And right now we don't even have maybe 2022. It just all depends. Let's see, what else can I share? Faculty and staff, COVID numbers have remained very low. The campus continues to be closed to the public. If you want to come and walk on campus, you can do that, but you do have to mask. But there's no gathering on campus at all. So it is closed. In the advancement office, like I go to work one to 2 days a week. And the number of people that go in our office, it is limited. And that has really helped to keep our numbers down. Dr. Brian Coker is just doing a fantastic job as the 12th president of Marable College. I cannot imagine being in a situation where there's an epidemic going on, it's affecting higher education, and you're going to be the president of a private liberal arts school. He was up to the challenge. He has been phenomenal. I encourage you all to please follow the college on the website, the Marable College website. Our communications office does an amazing job keeping everyone updated through Scotty News and keeping things posted to the website. But there's a lot of exciting things going on. Some I can allude to, others I'm really not at a point where we can talk about it. But one of the things that I think is really exciting is that Cassius, I have to get his name right, Cassius Cash, who is the parks, the Smoky National Parks, is the head guy. And he was I think he might be the only African American to serve in that type of a role at a national park, but he is going to be our commencement speaker for the 2021 graduation. And Brian has really worked on that relationship, and the college is going to have a more formal partnership with the Smoky Mountains, and that will be talked about more later. But he is formally working on a stronger partnership because the Smoky Mountains offer our students so many opportunities. I mean, our students that are studying environmental science, biology, the natural sciences, I mean, that is just an amazing place to go and do research and work. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the American chestnut tree is all but gone. There was a blight that came and it destroyed most of them. Well, about 3 years ago, our students decided that they wanted to work on replacing them. So they planted 500 saplings up in the Smoky Mountains, and they've nurtured it and carried on, and they've shipped these across the country. They've planted them, they've replanted them in the Smokies. And, that's just a unique opportunity as an undergraduate to be involved in something that is like that on a national level. We're talking about perhaps, and I think this is going to be at least a year, offering a certificate for teaching STEM. That is a real need in education now, is to have people that are certified to teach STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. been a huge push for a while. It continues to be a huge push. And so we are going to start offering that simply because it is needed, and it's something different. It's something that we can offer to teachers who are currently teaching but need this extra certification. And so that I think is really exciting. Our board of directors, I think we've got a very strong board. We have Cole Piper, who is a class in 1971, who is the chair. Cole, I don't know if you read the story about the Isaac Anderson cabin being moved from Knoxville to the Smoky Mountains, but Cole was the person who, as an alum, he got behind that and he made it happen. So I think with Dr. Coker in place, Cole is the chair of the board of directors, and Dan Klingensmith is our academic dean. I jokingly call them our Trinity, because I just think that they are so experienced, capable, and perfect for their roles. And I really think that Mirabel College is in a position that we're going to survive this pandemic, where a lot of schools are taking a really hard hit. Our enrollment is down just a little bit, but our endowment is up to $114 million, and that's as of about 3:30. And but you know, a lot of that, and I just have to say, some of you may have gotten a letter recently about, you know, if you've given to the college, it included a tax statement. But about $58 million of our endowment came through estate gifts. So we have had people over 200 years to make that investment in the college's future, and that's really something that helps us to be in such a healthy financial situation today, is because of those investments made years ago. And if you've included the college in your estate plans, I want to thank you right now, because that's just an incredible way to create your legacy. Let's see what else. We have had no events at the Clayton Center for a year. But we are hoping that, you know, we can at some point start limiting people. Right now, I know every state is different. In Tennessee, there's been some strict guidelines, but our numbers they were really high. At one point, Maribel was the highest. Well, it was Blount County had the highest in the world number of COVID cases, positive cases per capita. So you know, I commend, and I want you all to know there was so much work that went in when we were told to shut things down and go home on March 19th. Then's when the real work began for the people on our COVID task force and for campus leadership. The college had to get emergency certification to be able to teach online. All faculty had to adapt their syllabus to an online learning format. And of course, being on on the advancement side, I wasn't affected, but boy, I'll tell you, the time and energy that was given by our faculty and our leadership should not be overlooked. And there were cases where people just put family aside and just said, you know, this is something that we have to do. And they were meeting every single day, and they continue to meet today. And their highest priority is to keep the students safe and try to give them as much as a Maribel College experience as possible. But, you know, all this goes back to, you know, our tenets: scholarship, integrity, and respect. And respecting others by wearing our mask, social distancing, washing hands. So this has kind of been a life lesson for our students as well, you know, to have lived through this pandemic away from home, at school, and to not have that traditional college experience. And our students are missing it. So that's just kind of a rough overview, but I am happy to answer questions and send messages back, whatever I can do for you.
I have a question for you. You just mentioned the STEM program.
Yes.
So my wife is a retired elementary school teacher and principal, and STEM programs have been talked about for years. One of the things that I am a little bit concerned about is, science, technology, engineering, and math. In a liberal arts college, that sounds like science. And where is the history, social studies, political science? Democracy requires an educated electorate. And if we don't teach young people about the history of the country and how to be good citizens, we wind up with lots of the problems that we're having today. So I'm a little concerned at schools that are basically training people only to get jobs and not to be good citizens. You have a comment on that?
Sure, but I don't think that you're talking about Marable College.
Well, you're the one who mentioned STEM, and that's the reason I brought it up.
Yeah, right. Because we are rooted in the liberal arts. I mean, that's the core curriculum. If you've read or seen Dr. Coker speak, he always talks about how important that the liberal arts are. Studying a little bit of everything will prepare you for anything. And I have commented to him, those words have not rung truer than they have in 2020. We weren't prepared for this. No one was. And I'll just give you a little bit of something to compare that to. When Berea College decided to close down, they did not offer online classes. Students had to leave, and the semester it was over. So I feel like that the college adapting to what they needed to do to provide students with what they needed to receive an education, they did it beautifully. But I do understand what you're saying, Ray. When I talk about STEM, that would be for people who have already gone to school and are teaching. So this would be in addition. So this would enhance what they're teaching in the classroom. But we are very, very, our heels are dug into the liberal arts. But in order to provide students with majors and degrees that are going to be applicable in today's time, we have to offer those degrees in science, technology, engineering, and math. And I think it's taking the liberal arts and bringing those majors into it. But I do know exactly what you're talking about. I have a friend who graduated from a liberal arts college and was talking to me about when he recently went to China. And he said, what struck me is if I went into McDonald's and I said, I want a hamburger, but I don't want any ketchup on it. They said, but it comes with ketchup. I know that, but I don't want ketchup on it, but it comes with ketchup. And he said, it just struck me then. They didn't even think about, okay, take the ketchup off the next hamburger. That's just how it came. And he said, I just thought to myself, I am so glad I've had a liberal arts background where when I have to take the ketchup off, I know how to do it. I can adapt. So I don't mean to make that like lighthearted, but I just thought, wow, yeah, but this is the truth. 2 years ago at a board of directors meeting, I was sitting at dinner with some people on the board of directors. One of them is in leadership at the University of Miami. For 2 years, the University of Miami had already been addressing how can we educate students in fields that are in careers that are going to be dominated by artificial intelligence. And I started thinking about when I started out with a cell phone that was this big, and then now I've got one that's this big, and I've got a watch that can tell me where I'm going and what I'm doing and all that stuff. And it is, and I never even thought of it, but we do have to think about what are our students going to need in the next 10 years in the workforce? And that's changing so quickly because of the science, technology, engineering, and math. But I do understand what your concerns are. But Maryville is not watering down the liberal arts at all. Students are going to continue to have to take comps. Students are going to have to continue to write a thesis and do their research. We're going to continue to help hone their communication skills, their analytical skills, and their reasoning skills. And that's part of the Maryville College experience, and that's part of the Maryville College product. Does that sound okay, Ray?
Yeah, thank you very much. I could go further, but I think somebody else should have a turn.
Well, we can always come back to you.
I'm not shy anymore. I learned social skills at Maryville College because I was a recluse when I went through high school.
Well, Maryville is a very safe environment, isn't it? I mean, to me, I think, and very rarely, but from time to time, I'm asked to speak to parents. And this is the honest to goodness truth. If I was going to, and my daughter did graduate from Maryville in 2008, but if I was going to send my child away to college, Maryville is the kind of place I would want my child to be. Because to me, it's kind of it's a safe landing ground where you're going from being dependent to independent. And that includes being able to think for yourself, living on your own, making good decisions. And I just think that our faculty and staff they're incredible mentors. I mean, even though I was close to the same age as most of my professors, I still learned a lot about myself, why I felt certain ways, why I thought certain things, because I was challenged in my 30s and 40s. I was still being challenged, and I'd never been challenged before. And I think that that's, again, part of the beauty of a small liberal arts college. I'm sorry, I'm actually down in Florida. My family and I this is our Christmas gathering. And my brother and his wife came from Iowa, where it's like 5 below. And that's my almost 20-year-old poodle that's crying because I won't get in bed with him. So I want to apologize.
Cookie.
So anyway, does anybody else have a question
And
or comment or yes?
Your news about the chestnuts, I find really exciting. We're in the mountains of North Carolina, and can you tell me what they've done to the chestnuts to try to get them to live?
Yeah. Well, I probably not, because I probably can't tell you all that you would like to know, but I do know that they. Do you know? Are you familiar with Mountain Homes? It's near Blackberry Farms. If you're familiar with Blackberry Farms up in Walland. And anyway, Mountain Homes is an incorporated area, and it butts right up to the Smoky Mountains. And the people who live there have given them land, have allowed these students to plant these saplings on their land. And they have, the parks have planted some in the mountains, and then some I know were sent off places. But if you would like, I can find out more information, and I'll let you know. I'll send you an email.
Please do that. We're the Jarretts. I'm just wondering that something had to be done to enhance their resistance to the blight, because there are a few living species that sprout and then die back immediately. So something had to be done.
I would be happy to find that out, and it may be a week or so, but I will find that out for you.
We're retired.
Thank you so much, Diana, for taking time out of your vacation to join us.
Hey, it's fine. It's fine. I was excited, And I'm, happy to answer questions, or does anybody else have any other questions? I will tell you that about homecoming, no decision has been made yet. Staff would love to host homecoming on campus this year, and that's just what we're going to keep our fingers crossed for, but we will be letting you all know as soon as a decision is made. It's kind of a complicated, it's not an easy choice, because we know what we want to do, but then we have to think what's the safest for our guests and our students and all that. So now, Ray, oh yes, Ellen. Yes,
Yeah.
Ellen, I'll tell you hello from Kathleen Farnham.
Okay, thanks. What's happening with the situation with the Ruby Tuesday Lodge?
Oy. Well, when the college went into that agreement, it was for, I think it was 70-year lease. Of course, we never imagined that it would come to this. So it's really in the hands of our attorneys and the Goldman Sachs attorneys. I think, if I remember correctly, they said, and if you're not familiar, the college leased, the president's home when you were there,
Right.
to Ruby Tuesdays. They have a lodge there that is really operating independent from the restaurant, and it's very successful. They've been wonderful partners with the college. But when Ruby Tuesday filed for bankruptcy, Goldman Sachs wanted to include the college the property on Marable College for Ruby Tuesdays as part of their assets. It's our assets. And George, you might be able to speak more to that with your law background. But so we are fighting it. We don't want this to fall into the hands of Goldman Sachs. They have plans for it that don't necessarily benefit the college. But we're just hoping that we can retain that land, and that Ruby Tuesday Lodge can continue to operate, because it's a great place to spend the night if you're coming back for homecoming. It's really a neat experience. It's just, and Evelyn, that stuff, it takes time. And I'm sure as soon as we find out anything, I'm sure that we'll put something on our website.
Okay, thanks.
But thank you for asking.
Anyone else?
Well, listen.
I'll take another turn.
Yes, go ahead, Ray.
You sure nobody else has anything burning that they want to say? Okay, so I never have figured out exactly how important Maryville was to me. I do know that in 1960, when you had to be 21 to vote, if I had a chance to vote, I would have voted for Nixon because Kennedy was too young. And by 1961, when I was a senior or getting ready to graduate, I applied for the Peace Corps. And there are three of us from a graduating class of about 70 at that time. Three of us went into the Peace Corps. And that has been a major turning point in my life. So somehow at the college, from would have voted for Nixon to joining the Peace Corps, has had a big impact on my life. And I also think, these will be names that some of them you will probably remember from history, but some you won't. Dr. Hunter, big impact on my life. English teacher.
Yes.
Dr. Walker, history teacher. The first time I'm taking history from elementary school through high school into college, the first time anybody ever suggested to me that maybe the American Revolution was not necessary was Dr. Walker. You don't hear that kind of stuff in high school.
No.
I'll stop. Somebody else take a turn.
Jackson, Dr. Walker, Dr. Hunter, Carolyn Blair, Art Bushing. I mean, those, Dr. Orr, Edith Larkin. Those are our legacy, our legends. And you know, something that struck me that, you know, since I've talked to alumni, I've heard women say, my dad told me that I could go to school till I got my MRS degree. I've talked to other women who said, I really wanted, you know, to be, you know, go into like research science, but I was told that I could be a teacher or a nurse. And then I hear these stories about people like Arta Walker and Dr. Jackson and Carolyn Blair. They were women ahead of their time. And it seems like that, you know, what I hear from women who have had classes, that they were inspiring in a way that, you know, there weren't that many women PhDs, and that encouraged them to continue and, you know, to go on to get a more advanced degree or a terminal degree. But it's just really interesting how in the context of time, how things change. You know, to think that when you all were, well, say 60 years ago, there was no women's organized sports at Mirabel College. And look now, I mean, there's women that are playing everything, the same things that men are playing. So it's just amazing when I think about your all's time at Mirabel College and what has happened and the changes in society that have happened since then. It's been pretty amazing. And to think that there were women there who didn't let that talk limit what they did with their lives. And I'll tell you, if you know Martha Hess, do you all know Martha Hess? She was a few years older than you are, but she came back to college and she was our registrar for like 47 years. Well, Martha was friends with the women that we just talked about, and they had a thinking group, okay? And Dr. Walker, Dr. Blair, and Dr. Jackson, and so the way that Martha tells a story, it was an intellectual group. And Martha said, I was invited one time. I couldn't keep up with them, but I just thought, wow, you know, they did not let that stop them, the fact that they were women, and they continued to do things that I think were very encouraging and mentored women who maybe did not have as much support from their family as maybe a man would. So
Dr. Jackson liked the boys. I know that.
What'd you do? Ace her class, George?
I won't say that.
You played tennis.
But she was very accommodating during my sporting days. Yeah, she was a wonderful teacher.
Yeah. You know, there was a teacher that was very impactful in my experience, and I'll just share the story because I think it speaks to our journey in life and how God has a plan that we never imagined, right? So I was a horrible student. I mean, horrible. Every report card started out with, if Diana would just apply herself, blah, 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 right? But I mean, I could read things and I knew what it said, but I couldn't tell you what it said, right? So when I barely graduated high school, I thought, I'm not going another 4 years if Diana would just apply herself, right? I've had that. So I didn't go to college, but everybody in my family, they're all educators. So I was the first one in 3 generations that did not go to school. Well, certain life events happened. I took care of my grandmother in Kentucky. She had cancer, and worked in the school systems there in the mountains where I was an assistant special ed teacher for 8th grade, where most of the students were 16 years old. And I brought home a salary of $600 a month. And I thought, my parents left this area for the same reasons I need to leave this area. It was at that point, and I had a child, that I remember driving through Maryville on my way to the Smoky Mountains because my parents had retired in Loudon. I just remember seeing this beautiful college on a hill, and I was like, oh man, if I ever had gone to college, I think I would like to have gone there. It looks like Mayberry here. It's beautiful. You're surrounded by the mountains. Well, fast forward about a year and a half, and I thought, I've got to get out of this town, and I didn't know what to do, so I wrote a letter to Maryville College. And I wrote it to the registrar, and it was Annabelle Libby. And I said, you know, I was a terrible student in high school. I'm in my 30s. I'm a single mom. I'm at a crossroads. I don't know what to do. But I just remembered seeing that beautiful campus on a hill, and I just wanted to know if maybe I could come there. Well, I thought surely I've given her every good reason in the world to say no, but she didn't. She said, you are the kind of student Maryville College needs. Well, I'd never heard that before. I thought, well, now I've got to go. I didn't have a place to live, didn't have a job, anything. God provided, though. And my first time on campus was for my first class, 8 o'clock in the morning, a philosophy class on the 3rd floor of Anderson Hall. And by the time I walked up the 3 flights of stairs, I said to myself, okay, this is the second biggest mistake you've ever made in your life. Sit through this class and you're out of here. This is over. Well, I sat there, and when the professor walked in, I noticed he had a limp, and one of his arms, it was drawn up, and he was probably my age. He was probably 35. And he introduced himself as Dr. Glenn Hewitt, and he went on to explain that he had a brain tumor, and when they removed it, he had some paralysis, but he also lost his memory, and he had to go get his PhD a second time. I stayed because of that story. I stayed because of that story. So while I didn't have those wonderful legends like you did, I feel like that I owe every bit of my determination to Dr. Hewitt's story. Had I been in any other class, I wouldn't even have taken the first note because I wasn't coming back. So I had a different journey in Maryville College. I didn't get all those wonderful alumni stories and, lifelong friendships because basically I was the people I was in class with, I was their parents' age. So they didn't want to be in my study group because I was there early. I was ready. I was so important to me. But, so meeting you all and hearing your all stories and sharing that special thing that happens to Maryville College alumni that's hard to explain, and sharing that gives me my alumni fix. So I want to thank you all for always being so open, willing to share your stories, and embracing me as an alum.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Diana.
Oh,
You're welcome. Okay, I'm going to give you all my phone number. And in case you ever want to call me, you need a friend at Maryville College, and you say, I know who I can call, Diana Kanakaris. I'll give you a couple seconds to get something to write with, but I'm happy to help. And sometimes it's just nice to have a number.
I can send it on to them if they
Thank you. Yes, send my number and my email. And thank you all so much for inviting me. And I'm sorry about my dog being so needy. I am well trained.
Exactly. Oh, wow.
thank you.
Ellen, I will tell Kathleen that I got to pass along. And Sylvia, it's good to see you too. And Jim Renfro, are you sleeping?
I just joined up. I've been talking to a friend on the phone and missed the start of the meeting. Sorry.
Oh, you missed the grand prize.
That's good.
I thought maybe the snow and freezing weather brought down your electricity or something. Does that happen?
Well, that's an ever-existing risk for the next 48 hours or so. We're expecting another ice storm beginning tonight and during the day tomorrow. We have been quite fortunate that we've had our power all the way through and our water supply all the way through. And not everybody in our county have been that lucky.
Jim, where do you live?
I live about 150 miles north of Houston, way out in the country.
Oh my goodness. You all did get hit hard, didn't you?
He's in Texas.
Yes, we did. We got down to 0 here at the house last night, which is quite freaky for us. And but we have been lucky to continue to have power because there have been blackouts in various parts of the state of Texas.
Rachel's in Connecticut.
We didn't vote for Biden, so you know.
He didn't come on, did he? Blair Moffitt's New Hampshire.
You all have a great gathering, and thank you so much for welcoming me to it. It's good to see you all come.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Wow, that was great. I hope you don't mind our spending time with that. But I think it was well worth it for all of us to hear what's going on. As you can see, a few of us aren't here. I did get a note from Judy Collins this morning saying they were having rolling blackouts. So she will not be joining us. And I talked with Jerry Boone today. Both she and her husband have COVID. Joel's in the hospital, but she's home. And they already had one shot. So who knows how bad it would have been if they hadn't had that. But they're due for their next one. And now she's going, gee, do we need to get it? But I said, ask Dr. Fauci. So we'll see what he says. But anyway, let's see, who else do I need to tell you? Oh, Art Fairchild. I don't know what happened to him and Elsie. And now I know where Jim is. Orly really wanted to be with us, but she has contractor problems. And that she's redoing a place she just moved into. And real quickly, the people that sent regrets, since I wrote to you and told who they were, I heard from Nancy Frame this morning, and she said she wouldn't be able to make it, but to say hello. Same with Louise Lane Talley. She says she has some photos for us that she's going to try to get her. I think it's a cousin that's a pro that took photos years ago. She's going to try to get those for us. And we thought Connie Bondurant would be with us. She said she would, but she might be part of all that cold weather. I don't know. But Jerry was so excited because she wanted to tell her hello because they were roommates. And as some of you knew, I was so excited to see Rachel. She was my roommate for 3 years at Maryville, and she joined us today. So are you still there? She keeps moving on my screen. So, let's see, how many of you were here last time? Raise your hand. A lot of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Rachel wasn't with us and Susie Price wasn't with us. Did I miss anybody? Roger, you weren't with us last time either.
No.
Okay. And we'll see, what we did last time is just to say real quickly I've got your names on there now, so it's easier, isn't it? So just I think I put down where everybody's from, but if you want just to say a little something about what you're doing now or what you wish you were doing or whatever. I don't know how long you want to go. Thanks to Esther Jarrett, we do have this block of time that we can go as pretty much as long as we want, but I don't want to take your whole afternoon. On the East Coast, it's 4:45, so whatever. So I don't think I have any other news other than what I already sent you or just mentioned. But I'm glad to see everybody, and I would love to hear a little bit from each of you about what you're doing. So I will call on people. Miss Ellen Dozier, Reverend Ellen Dozier.
Yeah, thanks. What am I doing? Keeping up with stuff in Guatemala, though of course I can't go there. But still, those folks are still working hard on different education and microloan projects. So that's one thing that keeps me busy. There's a group here in this small community in North Carolina where I live called El Centro Comunitario that works with Hispanic folks in this area. And a part of that committee. And so we've just been in the process of hiring a new person to work with us. So that's one thing. I walk every day, which is great. I don't think I could survive this isolation without having that opportunity. And Brevard is a great place for walking. So do that. Yeah. And meet with a group of 4 people on Sunday mornings for worship. We have met throughout this. They are really the only people I see. Well, there are 4 of us in all. So we have worship on Sunday morning.
Thank you. Susie? Susie Price.
Okay, my turn.
You have a lot to tell us.
Well, I live with one of my daughters and her 2 grandsons. They're 11 and 15, and I've been with them since the boys were born, so I pretty much brought them up. And let's see, we also, our very small church group meets on Sunday too, and Wednesdays and Tuesdays, and it's 6 o'clock today.
Wow.
Yeah, I weave, I carve wood, I play the piano. I just took up the violin. I just started learning the violin.
Wow.
And that's about it. That's about it. Don't all speak at once.
That's a lot. I'm sorry, I guess. Susan, I'm trying not to mix it up like I did last time. Susan Stewart. Have our 2 Sues in a row.
I'm here in Wilmington, Delaware, and I have a very busy church life. We have lots of Zooming with different organizations related to our church, Westminster Presbyterian Church, which we've belonged to since 1981. So it's a very big part of my life as far as Christian education goes, and our youth and children and families. I love all that about church. So they keep me busy, and we're doing a search right now for a new CE director. It seems like churches are always looking for something, for a role to be filled. And so we're once again on the look. We just actually associated with a group called Ministry Architects. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of them or not, but they do help with searches. So we're kind of excited to get started with. They'll be with us for 8 months. So it's a kind of funny time to be doing it with everything we've been doing is virtual, but somehow the church has adjusted very well to doing that, and I value the virtual platform a lot. So that's what we're still sailing, and so we have Randy and I. So we've been married 57 years, and George and Carol beat us on that one, though. I'm sure because they got married the day we graduated from Maryville College. I'll never forget that day, Carol. It was amazing. But yeah, so thanks. That's my story, and I'm so happy to see Jean. Where did she go? Oh, here she is over here, and Nancy, and of course Lois was my roommate for 3 years. So I missed her, and we all miss her, don't we? Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. How about Carol?
Okay, we are adjusting well to our new home here at Friendship Village, Chesterfield, which is a senior living community. We've had our first vaccine, which they were able to get for us. Walgreens comes on the campus and we don't have to go anywhere. And our second shot is going to be this coming Thursday. So we're looking forward to that, because then they'll wait another, I think it's 28 days. I think they stretched it. So in March, they are planning to start to reopen, like our restaurants here, the dining rooms. Right now, we have the meals delivered to our room because of the COVID. But we're doing well. Our kids are all doing well. We're thankful for that. We do a lot of Zooming too, Susan, with our church groups, and my church book club last night was a Zoom meeting. So we're getting used to Zooming, but I sure do miss being in person with people. And we're coming up on, it'll be actually 59 years this May that we will be married. And I look there and see Sylvia and Lynn, and Jeannie was there, some of you that were with us that day, and it was really a very special time. Roger was there too. Yeah, so that was a fun time, and so good memories.
Hey, Evelyn and Gus.
Husband Olin, otherwise known as Gus, and he decided to sit in with us because he's been to some of our gatherings on campus.
I'm glad. I did suggest that you bring spouses this time if they wanted to join us. Thank you.
We've been doing well. We had both of our shots now as of Tuesday, last Tuesday, and our church has been virtual all the time since March, and we do a lot of committees and all sorts of things by Zoom. Our women meet for Bible study every month on Zoom. We're doing Lenten studies on Zoom. I also Zoom through the library, and it's a busy time. And with going in and out for doctor's appointments, and he does heart cath, and we keep busy. And we are close to our daughter who lives in Canton. You've heard her name. She helps with getting us all together. And it's just what it is. I mean, this is our life right now. I miss being able to go out. I miss my family in Pennsylvania, but I can't worry about that because there's nothing I can do about it. So it's good to see everybody, and I appreciate Janet's good work in getting us together.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Say.
I think I'm a little crazy. Okay, Jean and Bob, you're up next.
Jean Wilson from.
Sit up close.
Wow.
We were down here, and I'm trying to remember what we came.
Durham.
Durham. We have one daughter that lives in Durham. The oldest daughter lives in Zambia, and she's been in the States a lot this summer, partially because they're scared they can't get back either direction. And our son lives in outside of Chicago. And I'm showing up more and more signs of being older than I was yesterday, which is frustrating, particularly because it's memory issue problems. But Bob had his own business, so retirement was just casual, and, oh, I got some business for you. Oh, I'll pay you. You want to do some more? He actually was advertising for publications. The biggest one was the American Rental Association.
And we just moved with Kirsten.
Yes, I have a question. I saw on Facebook that looked like you moved.
We are, yeah.
We were in the midst of moving. I didn't even.
Lots of boxes.
Yeah, I saw that. Wow.
Because we had thought we had taken the last move, but this, we see the disadvantages of the house we're currently living in. And besides memory issues, I have a little bit of working issues.
Yeah.
So this.
Are you moving away from your daughters?
No, well, no, actually technically closer, because
we're just 10 miles, moved 10 miles back to an area where our grandson wants to go to high school. He'll start in the area that he's got a lot of friends there. So, but we're comfortable, but we sure want to do some more travel.
I enjoy traveling and seeing.
Yeah. I used to get to see them every year because they come to Florida every year for baseball training season. And they missed last year, and I guess we'll be missing this year too. I don't know, but anyway, so I was lucky to be where they come. Priscilla. Oh, I have to ask you to why? Just unmute, yeah. I don't think I can do it.
I can't either.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go. Well, I've got my first COVID shot. I get my second one in about 10 days. So I'm kind of hoping to get that over with no problems. One never knows. And I live here in Columbus, Ohio. My son and I share a house. My husband has passed away now. And I love the internet. I spend lots of time on the internet, a lot of it just exploring. And then I have the normal Zoom meetings with church group and that type of thing, which is really a lifeline at this point. This is pretty much the extent of my social life. And but as I say, I'd be lost without the internet. So that I really value. And of course, you have to have your electric for that to go. And other than that, a trip to the grocery about every 2 weeks, and that's about it. It's been that way for almost a year now. And so I'd like to get back to, I was working in the church library and with the church archives, and that was a lot of fun. I have, Ray was talking about history, and I have discovered a latent interest in history, which I did not have at all. But between, you all may have seen the fellow from Harvard that has the Finding Your Roots show on PBS. I really find that fascinating. And I had some papers my father left me and dug into those, and it turns out he had done a lot of work on our family history. So I've enjoyed going that. And then, of course, with all the white supremacy, anti-racist stuff, I found out a lot about American history that I didn't know and didn't get taught. So that's been quite eye-opening.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Your mic on, Janet.
I just said all that and I'm muted, sorry. I think we all live similar lives, Priscilla. I'm totally grateful that we have all this technology, right? That we can do things like this. Okay, Sylvia.
Hi. I had my first COVID shot and I get the next one in about 3 weeks. I stay busy doing genealogy, family history, so I'm on the internet like Priscilla, mainly on Ancestry.com, and I've traced about 8 lines back to the immigrant. My granddaughter is at Maryville College, but she's home isolated because she was exposed to someone who was exposed to COVID. So she has to take online classes this week, and then her isolation will be over. I stay busy. It's really cold today, but when the days are warmer, I get out in the yard and chop wood and dig out weeds and and walk a mile a day. So that's all.
Good. Great. Lynn.
Okay, I've been trying to stay warm. Not used to these frigid temperatures. I'm wearing my warmest sweatshirt, which is
Very good.
Let's see. I was going to say Sue Stewart. I go to a Westminster Presbyterian church also, and very involved there. I too walk every day, and I don't know, life just flies by, and I don't do anything for it to zip by, but I enjoy life. I love it. Good seeing all of you. And Carol Poland, she was one of my roommates, so always good to see her.
Thank you. Rachel.
Hi there, Janet. It's been an interesting year with the COVID. I have spent the last 5+ years taking care of my husband who had Parkinson, and we kept him at home with 24-hour care. And he died one of the nights that you had a meeting, October 19th. So since then, bringing all that life back, you know, and paperwork and lawyers and everything has been interesting. The family and I have decided my husband was a paper hoarder. I am sitting in a bedroom that has 24 file cabinet drawers, and every one of them is full. And I have been going through and pitching, and because he made copies of everything, I have to check every single piece of paper for all those important numbers you don't want to get out to the public. I have 3 children. The oldest just moved to Florida. She's in Venice, Florida with her husband. And then a son in Houston, Texas. He is freezing right now. In fact, they lost electricity today. He and his wife, and then Michael and his wife are in Charlotte, North Carolina. 2 grandchildren by my daughter and her husband. They were here in Connecticut up until this past June, so I was very much a part of their lives, and both Pat, my daughter, and son-in-law work, so I had the honor of, when they were working, bringing up my grandchildren, which was great. They are now out of college. Brendan works in Boston, and Lauren is in Nashville, Tennessee. Outside of that, I'm very busy with church still. Garden Club, we seem to Zoom our lives away. And I'm just trying to get organized and get through paperwork. So doing well, though, doing well.
Thank you.
Rachel, I've got a cool picture of you from when we did, it was one of the Rush Week skits, and you were Daisy May. I need to, somewhere in boxes, I can dig it out, but the photos are not organized. They just are in boxes, and we said, we'll bring them with us when we moved, and I'll sort them later. But I always think of you. That was such a fun time.
It was. That was our sophomore year.
No, I think it was junior, because we're over in, we're in the new dorm. We're in new dorm where the picture is.
Okay. But yeah, I remember Daisy May and really learning how to talk Southern. So that's a fun memory. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Anne and Hall.
Where do you live, Rachel? Where in Connecticut?
Okay, we live in West Hartford, Connecticut, right in the almost the center of the state, just above it. And I have about 12 inches of snow outside. Okay, right now. So good to see you, Susie. You haven't changed at all.
Me?
Yeah, a lovely cat.
Yeah, she insists on being part of the family. This is Queen Victoria. She is the queen, and she doesn't care who knows it. We live in Utah, about 10 miles north of Salt Lake City. It's been snowing off and on all day today, but it's warm enough that it's not, it's just turning to slush mostly, and the streets are still clear. But we certainly need the water, so we're not too unhappy about it. But all of you people in Texas and the ones that are getting hit so hard.
You're getting our winter.
Yes, we're sorry.
Yeah.
My social activity lately has been going to the grocery store once a week, and whole social activity has been trying to keep one of the furnaces at our church building running that has some electronic problems that he's been diagnosing. We have Zoom church and Zoom radio club meetings and Zoom city citizen corps meetings, and that's
Zoom.
about it.
Zoom pantry meetings.
Yes,
Pantry.
yeah, the food pantry board meetings, and that's.
We're just zooming along.
Well, I'm glad you're a cat person. That makes you okay.
Our calendar basically, instead of saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, says same day, same day, same day, same day.
Okay, Roger, you're up.
Okay, my wife Carol and I are still in Knoxville. Carol was a class of '63 graduate, and we've been in Knoxville since 1975. Spend time here. Also spent a lot of time in Townsend, which we enjoy and try to get up there as often as possible. Carol survived 2 bouts of lung cancer and is doing well now. Our daughter and son-in-law, who are both physicians, live about 3 blocks from us. And so I don't know we would have gotten through all of that without their support and help, but it really made a big difference, and she's doing quite well. I've retired about 3 times now, I think. And I'm back working for Cherokee Health Systems as a therapist 2 days a week. And everything has to be by Zoom or on the phone. And it's some of the most difficult working conditions when you don't have the person right in front of you. It's an entirely different challenge, but I think we'll get through this. Incidentally, we've had both our shots, and one of the things we found at Cherokee is that the older people seem to have less side effects than the younger people. Most of the young staff have had sort of negative reactions, whereas none of the older ones have. So maybe there's some advantage to being growing old. People were mentioning their church affiliation. When Carol and I came to Knoxville in '75, we said, well, we'll probably go to a Presbyterian church, and we started visiting around. And we thought, well, Presbyterian and Methodist would be all right. Anything but Baptist. No Baptist. Well, here 45 years later, we've been a member of a Baptist church. So don't ever tempt the Lord. We decided. But it's been a good experience. Normally, we spend a couple of weeks in February in Anguilla, but this is the first year we've missed in about 15 years because the borders are just closed, and I don't think we would have traveled anyway. But we seem to be getting through this and looking forward when we can start interacting with people.
I just have a quick question. At the Cherokee Health, are you a counselor then?
Right. I taught in my 35 years of teaching, I taught basically individual psychotherapy and psychopathology.
And you're a lawyer, right?
Pardon?
Aren't you a lawyer?
No, that was another one of my careers. I did a lot of evaluations of folks. I mean, mental illness and the jails go together. And so after I retired from the university, I went over and worked with a group of lawyers for about 10 years. Wow. And so then retired from that. And Cherokee is a big operation. We have see about 70,000 patients a year in 24 clinics. And so there's a tremendous need for therapists. And I agreed to work 2 days a week. And so that's what I'm doing.
That's great. Okay, Jim Renfro out in the freezing Texas weather. Did you go to sleep?
Oh.
Bored him so much he went to sleep.
It's interesting listening to all these stories of you campus dwellers. Remember, I was a town boy, ended up in Texas with a chemistry degree and a chemistry career. 20 years ago, we bought this country land, which is between Dallas and Houston, but out in the country. By the way, right above my fingertip is my Maryville College. You remember Maryville, Roger Maryville.
You've about lost it. You need to work on that.
I do. That's my diploma. That's Maryville. That's my diploma from MC. And next to that is the Keystone panel from a church window at First Methodist First Methodist then church in Maryville. Back in our day, the church building it was on Broadway Street. That church has been torn down, and my mother bought a complete window out of that church of stained glass. So that's a stained glass, and that's the Keystone piece from the very top.
And Jim, that's where George and I were married, was in that church.
Okay, well, wonderful. And I was a Boy Scout in that church. Actually, we attended Broadway across the street, and that's a Civil War story where the two Methodist churches split. And by the way, I'm a member of a United Methodist Church here in Crockett, Texas, and attend all kinds of meetings by Zoom. And we are the United Methodist Church. If you haven't been reading, the United Methodist Church is in the beginnings, the throes of division.
Right.
Much like I perceive that the Presbyterian Church has already been through. So you will see the United Methodist Church split into two or more denominations over the next 3 to 10 years. It's going to take a while to do it, but it's on its way. Family-wise, 3 children. They all live in Texas. One in Denton, which is next to Dallas. One in Huntsville, which is an hour from me. And the younger son lives in Houston. And they each have 2 children. And we dote on our grandchildren and continue to stay up with them by usually by texting. We don't Zoom much together as a family, but we do text a lot. And we've all checked in today to see what our conditions are as far as the storm. And I've had COVID #1, and we'll have COVID #2 in about 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the schedule. So,
wonderful.
Any questions?
Last time he sat on his tractor, remember, and entertained us sitting on his tractor while he talked with us. Ray,
yeah, I was sitting out.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was on my utility vehicle outside, and actually right now I'm looking out my front window, and I can see about 100 individual songbirds.
Wow.
At a feeder station. I've got a feeder station in the front yard, and there's about 100 birds out there on the ground right now that I have to feed. Bird watching is one of my hobbies.
Okay, Ray, and I'll just mention that I noticed that Blair left. He was with us for the first 20 minutes or so, and he didn't say he was leaving, but he just disappeared. So I assume.
And I'm leaving. I need to leave, Janet.
Who said that?
Rachel.
Oh, Rachel. Oh, thank you for joining us. So we just have one more to go, and then we'll be finished. And
okay.
Before you go, though, we waited, what was this, 3 months? October, November, December, 4 months between Zooms.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to do this again ever, or like in 4 more months, or 6 months, or you want to wait?
Months would be good. Yeah, let's see what, life is kind of boring right now. So
right now we all have nothing on our calendars, or we think anyway. So it's a great time, but we'll gradually get busy again. But I think this has been great. None of us had to travel anywhere. We didn't have to make arrangements. So it's been, we may do all our reunions. And as we get older and more, less mobile, I should say, or whatever, maybe this is the way of the future.
Well, I think it's been wonderful. I really enjoyed talking, just seeing everybody and hearing what they had to say. I love it. So
Good, I'm glad.
I think we should do it again.
Okay.
yeah.
Good. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks
Okay,
for doing it
you're
again.
gonna miss Ray. Okay, Ray. You're on.
I'm all for another session whenever we can.
Okay, thank you for saying that.
Good.
So
Great.
you want me to say a little bit about what
Whatever
Fran
you
and I
want to
do?
say. You said something about, last time, but some people weren't here, so.
Well, Fran and I moved 4 years ago into a seniors community. It's connected Lutheran Village at Miller's Grant, and Paul Miller, who donated all the land, is our next door neighbor. But I'm not a real good Lutheran because I always belonged to a church that was the local church has full authority. I grew up in a congregational church, and that's probably been the church that has been most influential on my life. But the Presbyterians have also been involved in a few places. There's two big things that were a big change in my life. One I already mentioned was joining the Peace Corps had a big impact on my life, and I still keep in contact with those people. The other thing was about 20 to 25 years ago, I got connected to something called West Star Institute, which most people probably don't know what West Star Institute is, but a lot of people in the church have heard of something called the Jesus Seminar, which was the first project of West Star Institute, which to try and understand who the historical Jesus was. And I've been in a group now, we call our Jesus Seminar Study Group. We meet once a month, and I've been in that group for more than 20 years. And it's progressive. I'm not afraid to even call it Christianity. A lot of the scholars that are involved in it don't even necessarily claim that they're Christians anymore. Some of them say, I am a follower of Jesus. And they're talking about Jesus, the wisdom teacher, not the Christ. So that's where I am. Religion has been an important part of my life, although I never really became at it professionally. After getting back from the Peace Corps in Ethiopia for 2 years, I got drafted. I mentioned this last time. I think it spent a year in Vietnam. And when I got back from Ethiopia from the Peace Corps, I actually went to seminary at the San Francisco Seminary at San Rafael, California. It was that was a good experience, but I decided I really didn't want to be a pastor. But as a result of that, I wound up getting drafted and spent a year in Vietnam. But I think that the church has been very important to me, but I'm having the congregation I belong to for the last 50 years is connected to 3 different churches: the United Church of Christ, the Church of the Brethren, which is one of the traditional peace churches, and also the Disciples of Christ. And we've got a Disciples of Christ pastor now for the first time, and he and I are slowly getting to know each other better. Because I'm kind of the left-wing radical in the church, and he is very involved in doing things. He wants to do religion is about what you do, not what you believe, and he's very much into that. But theologically, he is probably more conservative than any other pastor we've ever had, just from a theological point of view. So we're adjusting to each other. I guess one thing I'd like to mention about children, Fran and I didn't get married until 1969. So a lot of you got more time on us, but we did have two children. The daughter was the older, and then our son was younger. And then they got married, and we now have 6 grandchildren. But I'd like to say, related to Maryville, I remember when our daughter was 16, 17 years old or something, and she was thinking about going to college. And I remember telling her a little bit about Maryville. And I remember that I told her about Maryville as it was like when we were there. And as much as I told her about it, the main result of that was there's no way on earth that she was ever going to go there. And she wound up, she got a really good scholarship to the University of Maryland and decided she didn't want to take that because it would be free. She wound up going to William and Mary for her first year, and then didn't get to do some of the things that she really wanted to do. They wouldn't let her in the theater program because she wasn't majoring in theater, which was important to her. So she wound up transferring to Haverford College in Philadelphia, which is a Quaker school, and she had a really great experience there. But both of our children, having grown up in the church that Brian and I have been part of for 50 years, we still are friends with the man who was the pastor for the first 11 years there. And he baptized both of our kids. He married both of our kids. He buried my father. He didn't bury my mother because he wasn't available, so I did that myself. But he's been a very close friend of ours. But both of my kids, having grown up in this church, when they got off on their own, neither one of them belonged to a church. None of our 6 grandchildren have been baptized, and I don't think that they ever will be unless something changes in their life. But they're both fantastic kids, and their grandchildren are fantastic kids. And they have communities that they are part of that are very important to them. And they have at least one or multiple ones, but none of them are related to the church. So that's where we are. And I am, as still a member of the church, I have some concerns about where the church is going. And mainly, I'm not even sure what you mean when you say the church. There's so many different varieties, but if you take the categories of like fundamentalist to evangelical to mainline to progressive, I'm on the left wing of progressive. Maybe you can call it Christianity, but maybe not. But it has been very important to me, even though it's never been part of my career. It's kind of like I worked for 25 years for International Business Machines, but I never really loved it. But it paid the bills so I could do the things that I really wanted to do on my free time. So one of the things that's related to Maryville is Dr. Orr died before we got there. He was like a year before our class came in is when he died. And when I came into Maryville, I looked through the college catalog to decide what I wanted to major in, and I narrowed it down to like 25 possible options and wound up majoring in philosophy and religion, which has been very interesting in my life, although it's never been part of a career part. And one of the interesting things is, I guess Phil Griffin was the philosophy professor that I had for a couple of years. That was really, I got a lot from him, but he was not at the college for too long. But one of the things that I've discovered after the fact that there was a really important book in Christianity that was written called Honest to God by Bishop Robinson. That book was written in 1964. So never got to it. because it was 2 years after we graduated. And it's like Progressive Christianity Handbook. So that's where I am. And I guess I'll stop. I mentioned one other thing. I've got, of our 6 grandchildren, the oldest one just had her 13th birthday. So we now got a teenager among the 6 grandchildren. The youngest one is like, I think he's still 4, hasn't turned 5 yet. And we've got 3 of them that are, I think, 8 or 9 now. But the 13-year-old, who is very accomplished for her age, our daughter's 3 kids all go to a Montessori school in Charlottesville, Virginia, where she teaches. These kids are really, I mean, everybody does this. These kids are the future. And I'm it's very hopeful to see how our kids are going to have their impact on a really difficult future that is coming to our country and the world. Global warming is going to be the major part of our life, I think. But one of the things that has occurred to me is our 13-year-old granddaughter. I think that Maryville College has become the kind of school that she could probably thrive at, although I don't think she's ever going to get there. But I really have become impressed with Maryville over the last, I don't know how many years, 10 years or so. I don't remember how many it goes back. At least I remember talking to some of the professors when we had our 50th. And I think the school is really doing a great job. That's enough. If anybody has any comments, feel free.
We could have a whole seminar on this. I think all of us as Christians have wondered what the future is as far as the generation. And I often think about the churches that they have nowadays that have no affiliation. They're just started by someone who goes to seminary, and correct me if this is wrong, Alan, but they go and get their degree, perhaps from a 4-year college, not necessarily a seminary, and they plant a church. They raise the money to buy the property. They raise the money to finance the church. And the only reason I know that is that when they had the big downturn, what was that, 2007, 8, when the real estate went berserk, there was a very large church here in Orlando that was one of these. It had been planted by an individual, and they had to go bankrupt because he owned the title to the church, to the church, and it's like, okay, is this the new wave of the future, that people just get together, they start a church, and they don't really answer to anybody? That's something that I've wrestled with. I belong to a mainline denomination, the Methodists, like Jim, and I know we're going through some major things already. The Episcopalians went through it, the Presbyterians went through it. The Methodists have kind of wisely kept it back, but it's coming now, and it's all over the gay issue. And it's rather tragic, but I think for the next generation coming up, there's no gay issue. They've grown up with it. They just, what's the big deal, people? Just like for us, I grew up in the segregated South, and oh gosh, I gotta, my reminder to take a pill, sorry. Anyway, where was I? See, this is a problem when you're 80, you forget where you were. So I'm rambling anyway, I suppose, and you guys are probably falling asleep, but I think it is a concern. Oh, I know, the segregated South. I grew up with separate bathrooms, separate schools, separate everything. And it took a lifetime to deal with that and get it out of my soul. But I remember with my own kids, they went to school with a lot of Black children. It was not an issue for them. They just, so I think the gay issue is going to be that way someday. It's already there. My own granddaughter, who's now 21, it was not an issue for her in high school. They start talking about it when we go, wow, they're, 12 or 13 years old, they're talking about it, and they just go, oh, that's just the way it is. So it's a different world, and it's hard for us old people to deal with it sometimes. But okay, I spouted enough, so we could make a whole seminar, Ray. You want to organize it, and we can sign up for it?
I agree with Janet, because our church is so great, because not only do they teach the Bible and teach the stories of Jesus and everything, but we reach out to the community, and that's part of our mission, not only to Guatemala, which we do, and Mali, is that how you pronounce it, in Africa? Through the Presbyterian Church, but we joined together with two other churches. Our church is on Church Street. So we have the Presbyterians, the Methodists across the street, and the Episcopalians across another street. They have formed a group that we do things together. We have talks about things going on in the community. When we had all the stuff that was going on when the guy was killed by the policeman kneeling on his neck or whatever, I can't remember his name, talk about memory. We went together with those churches to present a front that said that was wrong, and they did everything together. But I don't have time to go through all the things that we do. We have a loving community, we have a supportive community, and I would love to talk to people about it and how our pastors deal with everything that goes on. It's just, if I didn't have that community, I'd be lost.
Seem to know everybody's church's website. I wonder if, Janet, could we send our church's website to you and then send them out? Does that
Would
work
be
for you?
interesting, wouldn't it? To see, you mean to kind of get an idea of what's going on?
Right, like ours is wpc.org, and you can get to it from anything, but I enjoy looking at what other churches are doing. And so if it works for anybody to just submit.
I can send whatever you send me, and I can send it out to everybody.
Yeah.
And you can also edit it too.
Yeah.
So you put a note on it of where the source was or why you happen to have this information.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a comment on that. This is just a brief one, but we've been doing Zoom for a year.
Right.
And we do it mainly twice a meetings, the Sunday morning and it was a Wednesday meeting. But there's a lot of very creative things that can be done on Zoom. I think some of the experiences we're having in my congregation on Zoom are things that just couldn't have happened another way. We so much mass, we use media stuff, videos that are part of the church service. But another thing is we've got two people in our congregation in Columbia, Maryland. One of them lives in North Carolina, who used to be here, but she's a regular member at our congregation now. Every Sunday she comes on the Zoom service. We have another not young woman anymore. She's, I think, younger than us, but in her 60s. She used to live in Baltimore. She used to come to our congregation. Now she lives in New Zealand. She comes to our Zoom services, even though it's the middle of the night for her.
Right. You don't have to pick it up when it comes in. You can hold it and a week later send it.
It's really been I think it's been a world changing what we've just been going through. And I think it's shown us that we don't have to drive to work every day. Our atmosphere is better. We're learning, like you, my church choir has something like, at a choir rehearsal, around 65 people. Well, it's so hard to get to know people. You go in, you rehearse, and you leave and chat and whatever. But thanks to Zoom, we're getting to know each other better, and it's really been wonderful. And I think there's really good things to be said about what we're doing even today. I feel closer to you guys. I mean, we went our separate ways after college, and then, oh yeah, every 5 years, some of you stayed in better contact than others. And this has been great. And I'm glad we have our resident expert here on Maryville. Jim has provided a lot of information to us and it's been much appreciated. Made me really appreciate the local kids. You know, they, like Jerry Boone, she has such a depth of experience, and you know, she was a big part of our lives. And I don't know, so I'm going to be quiet, and if we can stay on as long as you want. I mean, if somebody has to go, they can. If you want to stay on and chat more, we can do that. But
well, I'm going to have to go because I have another Zoom meeting coming up.
Aha, yes, there you go. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go, but I've really enjoyed it.
Well, Susie, I'm so glad you joined us. I want to hear more about the violin.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay. Bye.
Janet, thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
So we're looking for the connections to other people's congregations.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, we're looking forward to you sending us some information about everybody's congregation.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to send it to me so I can send it on. And while we're on websites, Maryville's website really is wonderful. You can, I mean, they have clips of the choir singing. They have all sorts of information about what's going on. You can look at their catalog to see what they're teaching. I did that the other day because I thought, oh, they're not taking Bible anymore. They're not, well, yeah, they kind of are. They're doing a lot of stuff through they just name them differently maybe, but it includes the philosophy and the ethics and all that stuff that we took, but they just call them different names. But so it's just still a really strong liberal arts school, and the college does a good job of keeping things on their website. So I encourage you to. And does everybody get the Scott E newsletter?
Yes.
Okay, because you don't get it
Yes.
in. That means the college doesn't have your email address somehow. Well, maybe I should share it with them, but you know, I had to sign this secret when I kind of started keeping track of everybody. I had to sign a secrecy thing that I would not share your information with anybody, but I still do anyway. So send me to jail. I'm 80. What good can, I mean, shut me away. I don't care. Feed me every day. I won't have to cook anymore. Yeah.
I'm going to leave.
Okay.
Are you talking about this?
Janet.
Oh, I'm so glad you were with us, Sylvia. Good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. Bye-bye.
Good to see everybody.
Thank you. All right. Good luck settling in your new house.
Thank you.
I want to make
Bye-bye. Thank you, Janet.
make a suggestion that
Janet.
after Easter, Janet.
After Easter? Okay. You want to do this after Easter?
Is that too close, too far? What?
I don't know. That's April 5th this year, is it?
Yeah, it's the first week.
So
of
after April sometime. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be right after Easter, but.
No, okay. Yeah, but sometime after that. Okay. We can all report on whether we're traveling again or whatever. I don't think we will, but we'll see.
I'm going to have to go make.
Oh, I'm sorry you have to do that. Yes. It's one good thing about being single. I can have cereal if I want.
Good to see everybody.
I have to go feed. I'm going to have to go feed chickens. And yeah, and actually we'll have to melt their water bowl so they can drink water.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh my gosh.
I would recommend maybe quarterly gatherings.
Okay. Yeah. That's about
More often.
Not, we don't need to do it more than that, but and we had a lot more people who said they were coming that didn't make it. I know I told you their situations, but Judy was a little unsure, Judy Hurst. She was with us last time. And Elsie, I don't know what happened to her. She was going to join us this time. But maybe they're cold there too. I don't know. But it's nice in a way. If we had all 80 people or whatever it is that I have, it would be really difficult to do this, in my opinion, but it'd be fun to see everybody, but I don't know how we could deal with it. So.
You'd have several pages of people's pictures.
Yeah, that's what choir is like. Yeah, there's multiple pages. Yeah.
Thanks for putting this together.
Oh,
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Janet.
Keeps me
Bye,
out.
Carol.
Thank you very much.
Oh, it was so good to see
Bye-bye, everybody. Bye, Carol. Good to see you. Say hi to
Good to
George.
see you, Susan.
Say hi to
Yeah,
George.
he's around.
Yeah, for sure. All right, take care, everybody.
Okay, you too.
Okay.
Bye. Bye, Roger.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Unless you want to stay.
Ready to go? Take care, Janet. We'll bail too.
Okay, thank you, Hall. Glad you joined us this time.
Well done. Well done, group. Well done.
Yeah. I'm sorry we bored you. He just left. I thought he was going to go there for a minute.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I love your kitty. Queen Victoria.
Anna, you still playing the pipes?
I got them loaned out to a local pipe band here in town. I still have practice chanter and I pick it up occasionally, but my fingers are too stiff to do the proper finger work.
Yeah, it gets to be a problem, doesn't it? Yeah.
The only time I've been to Scotland, which the name Donaldson, is for a couple of days on our honeymoon, which was like 51 years ago. But, you know, I'd like to get back there again. But, you know, these days I'm happy to just be living another week the way we are with this virus.
You all there's a local ad, I think it's local, it may be national, that talking about their house and they have problems. There's one where they have fence problems because the neighbors are fencers, and there's one that they have trouble with the pipes. And all the sinks and under the sinks and in the showers are these pipers that are
Oh, gee.
so that's been kind of fun.
Yeah, they're cute ads. We had our first vaccinations a week ago, so 2 more weeks.
So that means you had Pfizer, right?
Yes. Yes.
I was supposed to have Pfizer and they ran out. So I was supposed to have Moderna and they ran out. But they gave us our second appointment when you sign up for the first one. So I should have had my next one today, but I have to wait a week. Because they really could, there were thousands of people in the same situation. And so they couldn't change all those appointments.
Well, we've heard that the reactions from Pfizer are generally a little bit less
that's good.
than they were with the Moderna.
Yeah.
So
well, I didn't have any reaction to my first one, and I've heard varying reports on the second one. Some people get chills and other people feel nothing. My sister had the Pfizer in Miami and she had no reaction for the second one. So
I had my second Moderna shot at 12 noon today.
Oh, you did? Well, how are you doing?
I can feel it on my arm. It's getting a little bit
A little sore? Do they tell you to move it as much as you can after you get the shot? Yeah.
The first one I had a little bit that night with the arm, but nothing that was even disturbing.
Yeah.
I've heard that sometimes the second one is worse.
That's
so
what they say.
we'll see. We're planning to get in a car and drive up to New York tomorrow. So
okay.
they gave me the name of another Kaiser Permanente medical center up where we're going to be in New York, just in case it gets bad. But I don't think
you went to Kaiser for your shot? That sounds
yeah,
good.
that's where I get my I have a Kaiser medical plan as a supplement.
Wow, that's nice that they're doing the shot. I'm worried that Joel and Jerry got COVID in spite of one. They had one shot and they both got it, but not from the shot, because they now live with her daughter and the 2 grandkids who are older, who go, still work. So they figure one of them maybe brought it in, but I was surprised. You're supposed to have some immunity after the first one, so I was kind of sad. But He's in the hospital, so that's not good. But
Well,
she's home.
Keep our fingers crossed.
I know. I know. I don't know. And that whole thing, Ray, you're talking about with religion and where we are today and where the historical Jesus, and remember learning that, I guess I learned this at Maryville, that originally the Christians were called followers of the way.
Oh, yes.
Remember that? Yeah.
And there were,
but you know,
all of the original Jesus, of course, was a Jew, and all the original followers of Jesus
were Jews, of course.
And all of the writers of the Gospels were Jews.
Of course.
And that's been, ever since the Jews got kicked out, there were a lot of non-Jews that began to be interested in Judaism